Well, good Sunday afternoon, grandkids. It's time for another one of our weekly Bible memory verses taken from Galatians chapter 6, verse 8. Alexa, softer. Last week I did Galatians 6, chapter 6, verse 7. Today, 6, verse 8. And next Sunday, 6, verse 9. This is a great verse. This is a verse that applies across all dispensational lines. All through the Bible, this verse is truth to everyone it's written to. It says this, "For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting." This verse is so important to understand because the most important thing you want for yourself is to go to heaven. And the only person you can make sure will go to heaven is yourself. By believing that Jesus Christ died for you. You did wrong. That separates you from God. But God made a way that He took your wrong on Himself, went to the cross, and took that wrong off of you and gave you back His goodness. He took your bad for His good. It's a great trade, right? So, since He did that for you, you want to live for God. You want to have an understanding that every day you want to make God pleased with what you're doing. Whether in your home, whether talking on a telephone, whether at school, playing sports, you want to honor God with what you say, what you do, where you go, even your plans, what you think, is all to please God. For he that soweth, soweth is planting or working or attempting. Like if you want to serve a volleyball really well, you want to sow that by practicing over and over how to practice hitting a volleyball across the net by serving a volleyball. The more time you get in, the better you're going to be. So you sow by practicing, and you reap your rewards by in a game being able to serve a volleyball across the net. So it's that what we get out of life is what we put into life. We can put into life pleasing ourselves, which has no value for everlasting life. Our value is in serving God, pleasing God with what we do, or pleasing others, which God wants us to do. In other words, putting ourselves in the back seat as we put God and others in the front seat of what we do. Wow. When you sow like that, when you work like that, you're going to reap. Now, I hashtag some really important words. I hashtag soweth and flesh and flesh again, and reap, and soweth, and spirit, and reap everlasting life. Soweth, for he that soweth to his flesh, for he that works for his own personal gain, you're going to have no value in that for heaven. Shall of the flesh reap corruption. For those people who have never put their faith in what Jesus Christ did for them, that changed their life to want to live for Christ, for what He did for them, there's no hope of heaven. But we that have believed, then we're going to sow, we're going to work to please Christ for what He did for us. So it says, but he that soweth to the Spirit, that's working for God. That's putting God first, shall of the Spirit reap what? Life everlasting. That reaping is what we receive. I looked up sowing and reaping in the Bible, and it says, he that soweth receive back 100-fold. In other words, the more we sow, the more we get back. The more goodness we sow, the more goodness we get back. The more evil we sow, the more evilness you get back. So if you're talking on the phone, you're gossiping, that's not pleasing God. You're gonna reap you're not going to reap good stuff from that. Instead of saying, you know what, I don't want to talk about her. Let's talk about something else. In other words, stop in the track and say, I'm not going to talk about that person. Let's talk about something else. That's sowing righteousness, sowing goodness in life. We do it every day. One last time. For he that soweth to his flesh, that's ourselves, shall of the flesh reap corruption. No goodness in that. But he that soweth to his spirit, to God and to others, shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. That's forever rewards, forever and ever. Oh, what a great verse this is. Love you guys.